In a clear rejection of U.S. optimism, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is not close. His comments coming days after President Biden said a deal is very close at hand. Netanyahu blaming Hamas, saying it will not sign on to the American proposals. U.S. officials say the major sticking point is Netanyahu's own refusal to give up the Egypt-Gaza border.
Gaza must be demilitarized, and it can only be demilitarized if the Philadelphia corridor remains under firm control.
Joining us tonight to discuss is NBC News military analyst, retired four-star General Barry McCaffrey. General, thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you.
What do you make, first of all, of this contradiction on the ceasefire hostage deal, with President Biden saying it's about 90% there and the Prime Minister saying they are nowhere close?
Well, I wish President Biden would stay away from that subject. This is an Israeli war with the Palestinian occupied West Bank and the Gaza Strip, obviously. Secretary Blinken's been unrelenting in trying to moderate a peaceful outcome. It's clear to me that it's unlikely to happen. The Israeli strategic interests are rooted in trying to demilitarize Gaza, and are hopeful that some international force will take over the security as opposed to having Hamas return as a terrorist organization and control Gaza. So things are very dangerous. They're complex. It's unrelenting. The West Bank is in a different legal situation since the '67 war, that it's occupied and controlled by the Israeli security forces, but it, in theory, is a Palestinian authority controlled by their own people. It's a mess. And the death of this poor young woman, recent University of Washington graduate, just adds to a note of tragedy to the whole thing.
And I wanted to ask you if you can tell us what is happening in the West Bank where this UW graduate was killed, and what do you think the U.S. can or might do about it?
Well, it's a real terrible problem. Again, the '67 war, the Israelis fighting for their survival against a unified front of Arab states seized most of the Sinai, from Egypt, seized most of the Golan Heights, primarily from Syria, seized the West Bank from Jordan, and seized Gaza from Egypt. And since then, it's been unending, devastating, low-level war, occasionally heating up to a major conflict. And the Israelis are impossible to imagine they'll ever withdraw security forces from the West Bank. But they're in a no-win situation. More than 690 Palestinians have been killed, primarily by Israeli forces or settlers, in what's widely viewed as an illegal annexation of the West Bank. So how we get out of this situation is hard to imagine.
Well, how do we then? Because there are still more than 100 hostages being held. What we see happening in Gaza, separate from the West Bank, two separate issues, but obviously conflicting with one another. What is the outcome?
Unending war for 20 years and no two-state solution. So the interim aim of the U.S. government, for sure, is to try and bring about a ceasefire, to stop the shooting, stop the killing. That's probably achievable, but only when one side or the other gives up. Netanyahu is ill-advised to give up control of that Egypt-Gaza border. They had multiple tunnels, some big enough to drive vehicles through, and it was a source of billions of dollars of armaments and tunnel digging that went on for the last decade. So I don't think he's going to back off that demand. At some point, hopefully, Hamas will realize they can't win this militarily. They're devastating their own people. And by the way, the situation in Gaza is obviously unacceptable. 60–70% of the structures in the area have been knocked down. There's tens of thousands of killed and wounded. So somebody's got to give up. The question right now is Hamas is winning the information war, and Israel is dominating the security situation in Gaza. Hard to imagine how the outcome is achieved, but I think, again, Secretary Blinken Secretary Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, have been unrelenting in trying to get a ceasefire. That's the goal, in my opinion.
And the human tragedy, just unbelievable. General Barry McCaffrey, we are always so grateful for your analysis. Appreciate your time tonight.
Good to be with you, Joyce.